Suddenly, Si-Chen opens his eyes and finds himself in a hospital bed. He's confused to see people walking around outside, and a world that isn't on fire. Looking at a calendar, he realizes he has returned 10 years into the past to his university days. The date is May 16, 2015-7. This is exactly 3 years before the first Demon King, Wrath, is supposed to appear and open the gates of hell. A system message appears in his vision, stating that the fusion for power called gluttony is complete. Si-Chen realizes this is his one chance to change the future. He checks his status window and sees that, even though he is level 1, all his stats are at 100. In his previous life, he was at the very bottom of the food chain at the National University for Awakened Powers, a school that only takes students with potential. He spent 4 years being a punching bag for everyone else because he didn't awaken his powers until much later. A new screen pops up showing the Lightning Assassin, class, which was his title in the future. He can feel a familiar power flowing through him, and realizes he might have inherited his future abilities or awakened much earlier than before. He decides to test his strength, but he's interrupted when his roommate, Ma Long, bursts into the room. Ma Long is an E-rank flower chanter who was also at the bottom of the school's hierarchy. In the original timeline, he was killed just 3 days into the Demon King's rampage. Seeing his friend alive and breathing makes the reality of his return finally sink in for Si-Chen. Ma Long is shocked to see that Si-Chen's injuries from a beating he took the previous day have completely vanished. Since Ma Long can't see the system screens, he still thinks Si-Chen is unawakened. He reminds Si-Chen that the school's ranking test is tomorrow, and it's a requirement for graduation. Ma Long drags him out of the hospital, insisting they need to go back and prepare for the exam. Walking through the campus, Si-Chen can't help but stare at all the students. After living through a world of constant death and ruin, seeing so many living people in one place, it just feels surreal. Ma Long thinks he's losing his mind, but Si-Chen? Oh, he's already focused on the future. He knows that if he doesn't act now, the same hopeless timeline will just repeat itself. To change things, he needs to rank up as fast as possible. And in this era, the only way to do that is by clearing dungeons and killing monsters. But the major guilds, they have a monopoly on almost every site. Without a guild, a normal person has 0 chance of getting stronger. He looks back at his status screen. He's still level 1, but having 100 in every stat, that's unheard of. The government, they use a ranking system from S to E to categorize everyone's power. Most students remain E rank their entire lives, and only those with talent or connections ever reach D rank. Si-Chen knows that based on his past experience, he's already far beyond a typical student. Just as he's thinking this, a basketball flies out of nowhere and slams into Ma Long's face, knocking him to the ground. A group of bullies, they're sitting on the nearby steps, and they start laughing at them. The leader, he mocks them for recovering from yesterday's beating so quickly, and demands they go buy 2 cases of drinks for his team. Ma Long is instantly terrified and starts apologizing, offering to go to the store right away to avoid more trouble. Si-Chen stops him, telling his friend that he isn't the one who should be apologizing. Looking at the leader Si-Chen, he starts to remember exactly who this guy is. Memories of their previous encounters flood back, you know? He recalls a time when these same guys, they dragged him into a restroom, held his head underwater in a sink while Ma Long, poor Ma Long, begged them to stop. The bully, he claimed he was just helping Si-Chen by giving him a nudge to finally awaken his powers. In that memory, Si-Chen eventually passed out from the drowning, and the bullies, they just walked away because they were bored. Seeing that same face now, Si-Chen realizes he's finally in a position to settle the score. As Si-Chen stands there, he thinks about how pure evil isn't something exclusive to the demon realm. It's just as common in the human world. He realizes that while the monsters are a threat, people like this, they can be just as rotten. Gongchen continues to act like he owns the campus, laughing and telling his group to keep playing with the 2 of them. Ma Long, he's ready to cave in and go buy the drinks just to end the confrontation, but Si-Chen, he stands his ground. He tells Ma Long that it's not his fault and that the ones who should be apologizing are the bullies standing in front of them. This immediately kills the laughter, you know? Don Cheng turns around, clearly offended that his usual punching bag is talking back. Ma Long, he's losing his mind with fear, but Si-Chen, he remains calm. He knows this guy's deal. Gongchen is an E-rank flower warrior who only gets away with bullying because his older brother is the student council president and the strongest student in school. In reality, Gongchen's own powers are mediocre at best. Around them, other students start to gather, mocking Si-Chen for being useless and unawakened, expecting him to get sent back to the hospital after 1 hit. Gongchen loses his patience and activates his ability, causing his arms to transform into heavy, glowing, stone-like constructs. He cracks his knuckles and asks Si-Chen what he just said, but Si-Chen doesn't back down. He looks the bully right in the eye and tells him to leave them alone from now on. Infuriated, Gongchen swings a massive, powered-up punch, intending to teach Si-Chen another lesson. The impact creates a massive shockwave, but the result isn't what anyone expected. Si-Chen blocks the heavy blow with one arm as if it were nothing. Gong-Cheng recoils in pain, clutching his own arm, while the surrounding students stand there in total shock. They can't understand how the weakest guy in school just neutralized a powered attack from an awakened student with zero effort. Gong-Cheng hits the pavement hard, coughing up blood and struggling to catch his breath. He can't wrap his head around what just happened, so he tries to convince himself that he was just caught off guard by a sneak attack. He refuses to admit that he was simply overpowered. Meanwhile, the surrounding students, they're completely baffled, just staring at the visible lightning radiating from the guy they used to call a weakling. Frustrated and humiliated, Gong-Cheng starts screaming at his friends. He demands to know why they're just standing there watching instead of jumping in to help him. He wants them to back him up and put an end to this, but his crew is too paralyzed by what they just witnessed to move a muscle. They've never seen Si-Chen act like this, and the sheer pressure coming off him is enough to keep everyone in place. Gong-Chen loses his mind and charges at Si-Chen, screaming that he's gonna kill him. Si-Chen doesn't even flinch. He catches the bully's massive fist with one hand and tells him that he's pathetic. With a single lightning-infused punch, Si-Chen sends Gong-Chen flying across the area. The impact is so hard, it leaves Gong-Chen unconscious and bleeding against a concrete wall. Everyone watching is paralyzed with fear, especially Ma Long, who can't believe how strong his friend has become. Si-Chen takes a moment to check his system and reaches a few conclusions. He can still use his Lightning Assassin class, and even at level 1, his base stats are high enough to easily overpower an E-rank student. However, he notices a problem. Despite winning the fight, his stats haven't increased at all. He wonders if simply knocking out a human isn't enough to trigger a level up. He starts walking toward the unconscious Gong-Cheng, charging lightning in his palm. Ma Long is terrified, screaming for him to stop, asking, "What in the world are you doing?" Si-Chen, though, he just ignores him, focusing entirely on discovering different ways to gain experience in this world. Just as Si-Chen is about to continue his assault, Ling Yu, the student council vice president, intervenes. She reminds him that they are still on school grounds, and suggests that Gong-Cheng has already received enough punishment. Si-Chen drops the bully, noting that the student council is very quick to defend their own. He knows that if he doesn't seriously intimidate people like this, they will just keep bothering him in the future. As he walks away with Ma Long, the rest of the students are left in a state of shock, realizing that the school's biggest losers are no longer easy targets. Ling Yu watches them go, seemingly interested in Si-Chen's sudden display of power. Back at the men's dormitory, Ma Long is frantically trying to convince their roommates that Si-Chen has finally awakened. He tells them that Si-Chen is an overpowered lightning assassin who completely destroyed Gong-Cheng. His roommates, Shang Zuo and Shan Yu, aren't buying it. Shang Zuo is an E-rank flame mage who considers himself the top dog of the dorm because he's the only one with a combat class. He mocks the idea of an awakened person needing to go for a run, claiming Ma Long must have taken a bad hit to the head. He's convinced that a loser like Si-Chen could never be a lightning assassin, and believes tomorrow's final rank evaluation will prove him right. Meanwhile, at an E-rank training den, the student council president, Gong Ting, finishes his workout. He is met by his brother, Gong-Cheng, who's now covered in bandages and just crying for help. Gong-Cheng claims that Si-Chen humiliated him in front of everyone and showed no respect for his brother's position. Gong Ting calmly tells him that he will take care of the situation. Later, while having a lavish dinner with Ling Yu, they discuss the academy's power structure. Ling Yu mentions that there are fewer than 10 D-rank students in the entire school, and that Gong Ting has already recruited all of them. She notes that ordinary students have zero chance of getting stronger because they don't have access to monster dungeons like the student council does. While the elites are busy having dinner, Si-Chen is out in the middle of a rainstorm. He's running 20 kilometers while carrying a 100 kilohertz load. He knows that even with his special system, basic physical training is the only way to build a foundation solid enough to handle high-level powers. He isn't worried about the opinions of his roommates or the threats from the student council. His only focus is pushing his body to the absolute limit to prepare for the ranking test and the chaos that is scheduled to begin in 3 years. An awakener's potential is directly linked to their physical strength. Si-Chen knows that only a powerful body can handle the true limits of a high-level class, so he pushes through his training in the pouring rain. Even with his current power, it isn't enough. In the year 2160, the Demon King Wrath is destined to emerge and slaughter millions, you know? This is the monster that threw open the gates of hell and allowed the other Demon Kings to invade. Most importantly, Wrath is the one who killed Si-Chen's little sister. He remembers her dying in his arms as the world burned. He has 3 years before that descent, and he has to grow faster than the monster does. While he's out training, his phone rings. It's an incoming call from his sister, Si-Yoon. Hearing her voice for the first time in years feels like a miracle. She's upbeat, talking about a competition she's in, and how they can finally pay off the back rent if she wins. Si-Chen can barely speak. Overcome with the emotion of hearing her alive and well, he realizes that everything has truly begun anew, and he vows to protect her this time. He finishes his laps and returns to the dormitory. It's been 8 hours since he arrived in the past, and he's finally starting to adjust. After a shower, he considers his most pressing issue. To level up, he needs to enter a demon den, but the major guilds have a complete monopoly over them. Without being part of the elite, there's no way to find monsters to kill. As he lays in bed, his thoughts drift back to the power of gluttony. Just as he starts to drift off, a system window appears, initializing a process. Suddenly, his consciousness is pulled into a void. He wakes up standing in a sea of red water, staring at a massive, dark tower stretching into a purple sky. He was just in his bed a second ago, and now he's in a place he's never seen before. Si-Chen stands in a strange world of red water, staring up at a massive dark tower. He realizes he's somehow inside a monster dungeon. Suddenly, several E-rank monsters called Gravebounds emerge from the water. Even though he's confused, he doesn't waste any time. He switches to his Lightning Assassin class and starts clearing them out. He notices that killing these monsters actually grants him experience points and loot, something he couldn't get from fighting the bullies at school. Dealing with these weak monsters is a walk in the park for him. Within a few moments, he hits level 2 and then level 3. His status window shows that every stat has increased by 5 points. This is exactly what he needed, a private place to train where the guilds can't stop him. However, a new system message pops up over a dead monster labeled Devourer. He decides to test it out. As he activates the skill, the monster's corpse is absorbed into a glowing light and transforms into a card. This card grants him the new class, Gravehound King, a cloud warrior type. Si-Chen is stunned. The standard rule for everyone in this world is that you can only ever have one class, but thanks to the power of gluttony, the very same ability that belonged to Demon King Lan Yue, Si-Chen can now hold multiple classes at once. The potential is limitless. He could, essentially have an endless number of powers. While he wonders why he was given this specific ability and what the purpose of the tower is, the ground begins to shake violently. A massive rumble echoes through the area, and the air becomes thick with an overwhelming pressure. Something far stronger than the E-rank hounds is about to show itself. A powerful figure emerges from the Tower of Darkness, claiming it has been waiting for Si-Chen for a long time. The system tries to identify the entity, but the name is completely glitched out. The hooded monster calls Si-Chen by name, which catches him off guard. It offers him a choice: stay and guard the tower by its side, or be crushed into oblivion. Si-Chen doesn't hesitate to refuse, stating there is no way he is staying in a hellhole like this. The two begin to trade dozens of blows. Si-Chen realizes that while he is barely at a D-rank level right now, he is facing an S-rank boss. The gap in their stats is overwhelming. However, he notices that the monster is intentionally avoiding his vital spots. It's clearly trying to make him submit rather than killing him outright. Even under this intense pressure, Si-Chen remains calm and analyzes the monster's movements. He discovers a pattern, a 0.4 second wind-up before each swing, and a 0.2 second recovery window afterward. He decides to gamble everything on that tiny opening. Using his electro blade, he times a strike perfectly during the monster's recovery, successfully triggering a paralysis effect. It's only enough to hold the boss for a few seconds, but that's all he needs. He activates Godspeed, boosting his movement tenfold, and bolts toward a light source he spotted earlier. He thinks he's found the exit, but as he reaches for it, the light vanishes. The monster appears behind him, revealing that the light was just an after image it left behind. It tells him that the exit he's looking for doesn't exist, because this isn't actually a monster dungeon. The boss is impressed that Si-Chen can find a flaw in its technique and stay so composed while facing certain death. It then sheds its hood and reveals its true form, an S-rank star warrior, known as an abyssal fiend. Si-Chen is frozen in shock. This is the exact same form he saw on the Demon King Lan Yue in his previous life. The creature looks at him and calls him the one who will bring hope. The morning sun pours into the dorm room as a voice yells for everyone to wake up. Si-Chen jolts awake in his bunk, feeling the physical shift in his own body. He realizes that the entire encounter with the abyssal fiend wasn't just a dream. He has actually reached level 10 and acquired a legendary class. More importantly, he now holds the key to the Tower of Darkness. He knows that today is the day of the ranking evaluation, and he's no longer the same weak student who used to get bullied. As he gets out of bed, he prepares himself for the test that will officially reveal his new strength to the entire academy. Krang Di finishes his thought by leaning right into Si-Chen's face, telling him that all he smells is a loser outcast who won't ever amount to anything. He is trying to use his status as a D-ranker to make Si-Chen feel small before the evaluation even starts. Even with the officer breathing down his neck and insulting him, Si-Chen doesn't move or show any signs of being bothered. He just stays quiet, letting the bully think he still has the look away, maintaining a cold, steady gaze that suggests he's seen far worse than a schoolyard bully. Si-Chen wakes up back in his dorm room, confused about whether his battle in the tower was real. He checks his body and finds that all his wounds have completely vanished. When he pulls up his system, he sees he's actually level 10 now, with all his stats boosted to 150. He even has the loot and the Abyssal Fiend card in his inventory, proving he didn't just dream the whole thing. He wonders what kind of rank these new stats would give him in the real world. His roommate, Shang Zuo, comes over to act like a big shot. He heard the rumors about Si-Chen's supposed strength and warns him not to try and take his spot as the top dog of the dorm. Shangzhuer explains that while they are all E ranks, there are 3 tiers within every rank. He claims to be a mid-tier E rank, how E rank will fully control the dorm and sit with higher-ups in the dark, and see why brains make you laugh at his mask, making him far superior to low-tier losers like Si Chen and Ma Long. He is convinced that today's test will prove he is the only one in the room getting stronger. As they head to the ranking ceremony, Ma Long tells Si Chen to go for a D rank to shut everyone up. When they arrive at the ceremony grounds, they run into Gong Cheng's minions. The roommates expect another confrontation, but as soon as the bullies see Si Chen, they freeze in terror. Instead of attacking, they bow deeply and address him as Sir, showing they are still traumatized from their last encounter. This leaves Shangzhu and the others wondering if Ma Long was actually telling the truth about Si Chen's power. A student council officer named Chen Di approaches to talk trash. He mentions that Si Chen is the one who messed with the president's brother. He leans in close, claiming he can smell a person's strength, and tells Si Chen that he only smells like a loser who will never amount to anything. Si Chen doesn't flinch and simply asks if the guy is a dog. Just before Qiang Di can lose his temper, the student council president, Gong Ting, steps in. He tells his officer to stand down, admitting that his younger brother was at fault and deserved what happened. The ranking assessment finally begins. The head scientist explains that students will enter an artificial dungeon to unleash their energy against a magical core. This core measures their current output and sends the data to a public screen. Shangzhu is called up first. He enters the portal and blasts the core with his flame magic. The machine processes his power and confirms he is still a mid-tier E rank. The crowd waits for the most important part of the data, the potential stat. This measures the highest rank an awakener can possibly achieve in the future. Shangzhu's potential is revealed to be C rank, which is high enough to get special attention from the government. Despite the good potential score, Shangzhu was visibly frustrated that his actual rank didn't improve to D rank after 2 years of training. Ma Long tries to comfort him, pointing out that most of them will likely score even worse. Shangzhu and Ma Long both receive E rank low-tier results with C rank potential. Ma Long tries to look on the bright side, telling a depressed Shangzhu that D-rank students are rare and there might not even be many new ones this year. However, the mood shifts as more talented students begin to step up. Shangzhu eventually exits the portal, boasting a D-rank low-tier result and an impressive A-rank potential, proving he is more than just a loudmouth. The atmosphere reaches a fever pitch when the student council president, Gong Ting, is called to the stage. As the heir to the Imperial Guild and the top student in the school's history, everyone is eager to see his limit. Inside the artificial dungeon, Gong Ting prepares to strike the core. He deliberately decides to suppress his power. He's planning to save his true reveal for the graduation exams, to make a bigger impact. But despite holding back, his results are historic. The display shows he is a D-rank high tier with S-rank potential. The crowd, it erupts in cheers, and the scientists immediately decide to report these results to the higher-ups, because an S-rank potential, that's considered a national treasure. Watching from a private balcony, Headmaster Yuan Long asks Ling Yu if she came specifically to see the president's record-breaking performance. She just smiles and admits she's actually more interested in the results of a different student. Right as the excitement from the president's turn begins to settle, the announcer calls the next name on the list. Si Chen steps forward, looking completely calm as his name echoes through the stadium. Qiang Di, he mocks the group, calling them a dorm full of E-rank losers who will just humiliate themselves at the graduation exam. Ma Long shouts back, telling the officer to wait, cause Si Chen, he'll make him eat his words. Si Chen enters the assessment portal while the roommates and student council members watch. Inside the chamber, Si Chen, he faces the magical core, a biological device used to measure energy. Joining a top guild, like the Imperial Guild, is the only way to have a successful future, and the upcoming graduation combat exam, that's the best place to prove one's worth. The exam uses 10-man teams, and the winning team, they get recruited by the Imperial Guild immediately. Qiang Di introduces a new D-rank member to Gong Ting, completing their elite 10-person squad. They're confident they have the strongest team, while Si Chen's group, it's viewed as the weakest. Outside, everyone waits for Si Chen's results. As time passes with no data, students start to leave, assuming he's too weak to even register a rank. Gong Ting prepares to head out as well, but then, the screen begins to flicker. Suddenly, it displays a D-rank, high-tier result. Ma Long, he celebrates wildly, while Gong Ting and his officers look on in disbelief. Inside, the system alerts Si Chen of an abnormality. He realizes his level 10 base stats are already equal to a high-tier D-rank, without using a class. He decides to switch to his weakest class, the Gravehound King, just to see what happens. The screen outside updates again, jumping to C-rank mid-tier. The crowd, they go into a frenzy, unable to understand how his rank is rising. Gong Ting, he's confused, and the scientists, they assume the machine's having a system error. Si Chen, he decides to test his full power, and he switches to the Abyssal Fiend class. This causes the core to react violently, sending a massive purple vortex into the sky above the university. Everyone looks up in terror at the phenomenon. The screen starts flashing warnings because the potential rank it exceeds the system's maximum bounds. Seconds later, the magical core explodes, sending a shockwave right through the stadium. The scientists they rush inside to find the core is shriveled up and, well, died. Si-Chen stands there, realizing he pushed the device too far. However, he uses his gluttony power to devour the remains of the core. He successfully acquires an A-rank skill called Delicate Magical Core, which allows him to see the ranks and threat levels of everyone within 100 meters. He tests it immediately and sees that Gong Ting is actually a C-rank high tier who has been hiding his true strength. The scientists announce that the day's testing is suspended and Si-Chen's data was likely corrupted. As the roommates try to take Si-Chen back to the dorm, Kyung-di blocks their path. He screams at Si-Chen, accusing him of breaking the machine and wasting the student council's time. Si-Chen begins to charge as lightning, thinking about taking the officer out. But Gong Ting, he stops the fight. The president, he tells Cheon-di to be respectful to their new teammate. He offers his hand to Si-Chen, inviting him to join his squad for the graduation combat exam, so they can achieve the highest score in the school's history. Gong Ting, he shocks everyone by personally inviting Si-Chen to join his elite squad. The surrounding students, they can't believe it. And Chang-di is especially bitter. He realizes that if Si-Chen joins, someone will have to be kicked off the team. He can't understand what makes this guy so special, but since the president made the offer, he tries to act fake and welcoming. He puts a hand on Si-Chen's shoulder to welcome him to the team, but Si-Chen immediately slaps his hand away. He bluntly states that he's not interested. Cheong-di and Gong Ting, they're stunned by the total rejection. Si-Chen tells them they're too loud and warns them never to bother him again as he walks away. This sends Cheong-di into a literal fire-breathing rage, while the other students gossip about how much guts it took to reject the student council president. They realize that with a C-rank assessment, Si-Chen must be aiming for first place on his own. Gong Ting keeps his cool, telling his team that it isn't a problem and that Si-Chen clearly has his own plans. Watching from the balcony, the headmaster is disappointed that the two didn't team up to set a new school record. Ling Yu, however, finds it much more interesting. She views the rejection as a declaration of war, noting that while Gong Ting was born with a silver spoon, he's definitely not a pushover. Back on the field, Gong Ting wonders if the assessment results were actually accurate. He vows that no matter what, he won't let anyone take the top spot from him. Chang-di tries to suck up to him, offering to teach Si-Chen a lesson, but Gong Ting shuts him down, acting like he's above being petty. Gong Ting tells the team to go to karaoke without him, but as he leaves, he tells Chang-di that whatever he decides to do has nothing to do with him. Chang-di catches the hint. The president is giving him a silent green light to attack. 10 minutes later, Chang-di's goons report that Si-Chen has left the campus to go home without even eating. Chang-di thinks the timing is perfect because off-campus anything goes. As Si-Chen walks through the city, he thinks back to the ruined future. In his past life, a top guild encountered a monster in the Holy Land that was stronger than anything they had ever seen. Wrath. The guild was completely wiped out, and Wrath descended to destroy the human world. To prevent this, Si-Chen needs to find that dungeon as soon as possible, but he needs a massive amount of money to start his plan. He heads to the Mithril Monster Exchange, the nation's largest resource hub. He approaches the counter and drops several monster fangs. The male clerk is dismissive, wondering how a student got these and calling them junk once he realizes they are E-rank Gravehelm fangs. He's more interested in VIP clients and hands the trash order off to a newbie clerk named Miss Lee. Si-Chen receives 18,000 for the fangs, which is enough to cover his rent for now. But then, he reaches into his inventory and pulls out a massive, glowing greatsword. He asks for an appraisal, and Miss Lee is completely stunned by the quality, guessing it's at least a B-rank or maybe even an A-rank weapon. The arrogant male clerk laughs at her, claiming A-rank gear is worth millions and that a broke student couldn't possibly have anything that valuable. Suddenly, a well-dressed man enters and corrects him. He explains that the gear isn't A-rank. It's an S-rank piece of equipment from the Abyssal Lands. The clerk's jaw drops in horror as the man approaches Si-Chen. He shakes his hand, stating they are honored by his patronage, and personally invites him to the VIP lounge. Si-Chen smiles, knowing his plan worked. He recognizes the man as King Zi, the leader of the Mithril Guild. Once they are seated in the lounge with the sword resting on the table, Qingji asks how much he intends to sell it for. The young man plainly asks for 1 million. Qingji is surprised. He explains that even A-rank weapons sell for millions, and this S-rank sword could easily fetch tens of millions on the open market. The young man clarifies that he doesn't want to sell it. He wants to use the S-rank weapon as collateral for a 1 million loan, promising to pay it back in exactly 1 month. Qingzi realizes the student has no intention of losing the sword and plans to use it for himself later. He wonders if the boy is a rich runaway or a hidden prodigy, but knows he isn't an ordinary student. The young man adds that he will repay the principal in a month and include a 10% interest payment the month after. Qingji asks the appraiser to step outside. He tells the young man that he knows he attends the National Awakener University, and their senior graduation exam is exactly 1 month away. The prize money for first place is exactly 1 million, which perfectly matches the loan repayment amount and date. Qingji guesses the young man is completely confident he will win first place. He also deduces that since the boy can't just wait a month for the prize money, He must be in desperate need of cash right now to risk putting up an S-rank item as collateral. Seeing an opportunity, King Ji makes a counteroffer. He offers to loan him 1.5 million in cash on the spot with 0 interest for 1 month. He extends his hand, asking the young man to consider this the start of a friendship between them. He promises to keep their discussions strictly confidential and asks that the young man bring any future trading needs to his exchange facility first. The young man is impressed that Qingzi figured out his exact situation with just a few details. Instead of taking advantage of his desperate need for cash, Qingzi offered better terms just to build a long-term partnership. It makes complete sense to him why Qingji eventually turns the Mithril Exchange into the world's premier exchange facility in the future. They shake hands to seal the deal. The young man knows that to eliminate Wrath, he can't rely solely on his own strength. He needs to start making trustworthy allies. The magic contract is completed, and 1.5 million is transferred into his account. King Ji asks what he plans to use for his upcoming graduation exam now that he used his weapon as collateral. He offers to lend him some high-rank equipment from the shop. The young man says there is no need. He reaches out and summons another identical S-rank greatsword. King Ji and his staff are completely speechless. Leaving the shop, he takes a taxi to the long-distance bus terminal. While waiting, he thinks back to his past life. His family struggled financially, and since he hadn't awakened after graduation, no guild would accept him. They barely scraped by on odd jobs to make rent. His younger sister, Si-Yun, even tore up her acceptance letter to her dream art school, just to avoid adding to their financial burden and to stay close to him. His thoughts are interrupted when Si-Young calls out to him, asking for help with her luggage. He stares at her, realizing it has been 7 years since he last saw her. He rushes over and wraps her in a tight hug. She complains that he is choking her and asks if he's acting weird because a girl rejected him. He takes her bag, and they start walking home as she talks about her bus ride. Looking at her, he silently vows that he won't let her suffer anymore this time around. Meanwhile, in an alleyway along their route, a group of armed thugs is lying in wait. Their leader, wearing a floral shirt and smoking a cigarette, confirms this is the path Si-Chan takes to get home. He orders his men to hide and jump him the moment he shows up, wanting to teach Si-Chan what happens when you mess with him. Their leader, a D-rank cloud assassin named Qiang-Di, holds a grudge. The young man previously told them to stop bothering him, and Qiang-Di wants to cripple him so he misses graduation. Unaware of the ambush, Si-Yu notices her brother acting weird and tries to cheer him up. They enter the alley, and the thugs prepare to jump them. The young man catches their scent immediately. He pulls out a pair of wireless earbuds, places them in Si-Yun's ears, and plays her favorite song, telling her it will help her understand his mental state. As she closes her eyes to the music, he steps forward, his eyes glowing. In his past life, he lost his last family member in the year 2160 and wasn't reborn until 2167. This is his first time seeing his sister in 7 years, and he is furious these thugs are ruining the moment. Lightning crackles around him as he launches forward. He smashes the first thug's face into a wall and snaps another's arm with a single punch. The thugs panic at his overwhelming strength. Qiang-Di screams that he's the strongest cloud assassin and lunges with his knife. The young man effortlessly dodges the blade and drives a lightning-laced punch straight into Qiang-Di's face. The leader is sent flying, crashing hard against the pavement. Standing over the bloody assassin, the young man glares down and asks what part of "never bother me again" he didn't understand. Looking down at the bleeding assassin, the young man reminds him that he clearly told them never to bother him again. He asks what part of that he didn't understand. Lying on the ground with broken ribs and numb legs, Qiang-Di finally realizes the student's rank assessment was real, and he's definitely not a D rank. Terrified and crying, he stammers a weak apology. The young man instantly grabs him by the collar and presses a knife against his throat, telling him to shut up. He threatens to kill him right there if he makes a single sound. Looking into his glowing red eyes, Qiang-Di knows he isn't bluffing. He feels the intense killing intent radiating from him, and wonders what kind of hell a simple student must have gone through to have an aura of pure death like that. The young man tells him to listen closely to his next words. He doesn't care if they all rot, but they are to never bother him again. He then warns them that if they ever try to harm his sister, or even appear in front of her, he will permanently make each of them disappear without a second thought. Pressing the blade just enough to draw a bit of blood, he asks if Qiang-Di understands. The terrified leader quickly nods. Satisfied, the young man drops the knife and walks away, leaving the thugs beaten in the alley as his sister's song continues playing. As Si-Yun listens to the song, tears start falling down her face. The lyrics are incredibly sad and lonely. She wonders what her brother has been through to relate to something like this, feeling like he has lived through a lot even though they've only been apart for a few days. She thinks about how she's always been by his side and wipes her tears, telling him he's taking his lonely joke a little too far. He suddenly hands her a red box. Inside is a golden pen. She immediately recognizes it as the latest magic holographic pen from Dragco, an item that costs over 10 grand. Completely shocked, she asks where he got the money for it. Watching her, he thinks back to his past life where he failed to protect her in her dreams. He silently vows to protect everything about her this time around. Si-Yu nervously suggests returning the pen, claiming it's way too expensive and that she doesn't even like it that much. But she chests it out anyway, drawing a glowing pink fish in the empty air. She is amazed that it actually works. He just smiles and tells her she can use it as long as she likes it. Later, they sit at home eating bowls of noodles. He praises her cooking, but Siyun brings up their living situation. She scolds him for throwing money away on a pen when they still need to pay rent. He casually replies that he already paid this year's rent in full. Siyun is stunned. He quickly makes up an excuse, saying he started a small business with a friend and made some good money. Siyun knows he's a terrible liar. She realizes he is being highly suspicious and is definitely keeping secrets from her now. But as she looks over at him, she sees his bright, genuine smile. She realizes it has been ages since she saw him look that happy. At a large aquarium, the university's director of career services, Gong Swan, talks to a student named Gong Ting. Gong Swan confirms that Si Chen is officially a C rank and is the only student in the school ranked higher than Gong Ting. He warns Gong Ting that his father invited the vice chairman of the alliance to watch the graduation exam, so he can't let anyone steal the spotlight. If things go wrong, Gong Swan suggests having Si Chen fill a vacancy on Gong Ting's team. Gong Ting refuses, calling Si Chen a deadbeat. Gong Swan points out that Si Chen recently beat Kang Di so badly that over 60% of his body was fractured and won't heal in time for the exam. Gong Ting still doesn't care. He believes Si Chen already showed his full abilities during the ranking assessment. He vows to show everyone who the strongest really is during the combat exam. At 11 p.m. in the men's dormitory, Si Chen takes a shower after finishing a 100-kilometer weighted run. With his money issues solved, he is ready to focus on his real plan after graduation. His next step is to win the 1 million prize money to pay back his loan from Chinji, knowing he will need him for future deals. Lying in bed, Si Chen notes he has less than a month before the exam and needs to level up a few more times. A loading bar appears in his vision, and the glutton system initiates. Walking up the steps of a massive red tower, he checks his system stats. His weakest class, Gravehound King, is officially assessed as a C rank. His strongest class, Abyssal Fiend, doesn't display a rank because its potential exceeds the system's maximum bounds. While it is an S-rank class, he can't use its full potential yet, and doesn't know exactly how much more power it holds. He also notes that the ranks of his 2 remaining classes are currently unknown. To test his limits, he pulls out an SSS-Rank item called the Time Rift Key. The system describes it as the only key capable of unlocking the gates to the Tower of Darkness. He uses the key and the large stone doors rumble open, revealing a swirling purple portal. Wondering what is waiting for him inside, he steps through the vortex. As he arrives, he looks around in surprise, trying to make sense of his new surroundings. He steps out into the fallen star wastes and immediately drops to his knees. The surface gravity here is insanely high, roughly 10 times normal. The door behind him vanishes. To reopen it, he figures he has to kill the floor's boss. Right now, he can only use about 30% of his strength in this environment. A B-rank monster called the Phantom Lion appears. He quickly switches to his Lightning Assassin class and summons an electric blade. When the lion lunges, he tries to counter with a vital hit to paralyze it, but his attack misses completely. The extreme gravity makes his body feel incredibly heavy, severely impacting his speed and precision. The assassin class is virtually useless here. The lion easily tackles him to the ground. Realizing he needs a different approach to deal with the monster's strength, he switches classes again, this time to the Purgatory Rakshasa. As a warrior class, it gives him massive bonuses to his strength and stamina. Using his new stats, he effortlessly punches the lion off of him. He then activates his gravity manipulation skill, stacking gravity on his fist to the absolute max to increase his downward impact force. His power surges as the gravity multiplier climbs rapidly to 200, 400, and then 600%. With gravity stacked to 600%, his punch is amplified 60 times. He slams the Phantom Lion into the ground, destroying it. He catches his breath as the system awards him 12,000 XP, bringing him to level 11. Checking his stats, he notes that every star on a class card represents a stat multiplier. His Purgatory Rakshasa class has 11 stars, providing a higher overall amplification than his 9-star Lightning Assassin class. Still, it took everything he had just to beat a single B-rank monster, meaning neither class has broken past the B-rank limit yet. He then notices the system didn't give him a Devourer prompt for the lion, and the exit gate hasn't appeared. Looking up, a large black portal opens in the sky. Glowing eyes appear inside the void. He realizes the real 4 boss hasn't even shown up yet. Several more Phantom Lions jump out of the portal. The monster he just used all his strength to kill was just a basic mob. The lions lunge at him, slashing across his chest. As they attack, he finally understands the Purgatory Rakshasa's warning. The open door brings endless pain, but he has to endure and conquer it all. Suddenly, Si Chen gasps and sits up in bed, waking up from the simulation in a cold sweat. Si Chen wakes up in a cold sweat in his dorm room. The feeling of his muscles tearing and skin separating from the bone in the simulation felt completely real. He knows there are no shortcuts to getting stronger, and his arduous path through purgatory has just begun. Later that week, the students gather in the grand auditorium for the graduation combat assessment team formation. The students talk among themselves about the new rules. Since higher-ups from the Guild Alliance are coming to watch the exam live, Every team is now required to have at least 5 members, and at least one must be a high E rank or above. Gong Swan announces that everyone's rank information has been sent to their wristbands so they can start forming their teams. As the students check their holographic lists, they notice something wrong with Si Chen's stats. The system shows him as a low E rank. They are confused since he previously tested as a C rank, and they quickly assume his demon heart really was broken back then, causing his rank to drop. Seeing this, the other students immediately lose interest in teaming up with him, not wanting to carry a deadweight during such an important graduation exam. Gong Ting and his friends just laugh, mocking Si Chen for rejecting Gong Ting's team invitation earlier and assuming he must be regretting it now. Watching from the front desk, Gong Swan looks at his nephew. He thinks about how Gong Ting is just so disappointing, not knowing how to truly utilize power and human nature. He decides to teach his nephew a lesson by using his administrative authority to isolate Si Chen, making sure his opponents won't even have the qualifications to compete. Students are told to form teams for their upcoming graduation exam. Everyone rushes to join the student council president, Gong Ting, because being on his team practically guarantees a good career. Meanwhile, Si Chen and his roommates are struggling. To even enter the exam, they need a 5-person team with at least one high-tier E rank member. Currently, they only have 4 people. Si Chen's rank has been listed as low-tier E rank, putting him at the very bottom of the school. He knows the graduation scores based on performance in a monster dungeon where the number of enemies scales with team size. Having more teammates doesn't automatically mean a better score. Quality matters more. Si Chen suspects the director of career services, Gong Swan, tampered with his records. Gong Swan shares a name with the president and likely lowered Si Chen's rank so no one would want to team up with him. One of their roommates, Shang Zuo, is a mid-tier E rank. Another group tries to recruit him, calling the rest of the dorm trash. Shang Zuo refuses to abandon his friends, even if it means missing the exam. Si Chen realizes they're being targeted and decides to take matters into his own hands. A system notification appears, confirming a class change is complete. Awe surges through him as his appearance shifts. He decides to take advantage of the university's tradition that allows 1v1 challenges at any time. His plan is simple: defeat Gong Ting in front of everyone to prove his strength. Once he shows his true power, he expects high-ranking students will want to join his team. Just as he prepares to make his move, a girl enters the room. She achieved D rank back in middle school and asks to join their team, promising she won't be a burden. The girl, Ling Yu, wants to join Si Chen's team, but the director of career services, Gong Swan, tries to stop her. He claims that as an exchange student she's ineligible and lacks an official rank assessment. Just then, the principal arrives, surprising everyone with what looks like teleportation. Si Chen can't even see his or Ling Yu's ranks. The principal tells Ling Yu it's better if she stays out of this, but then starts talking about the school's duty to its students. Fearing the principal knows about his rule tampering, Gong Swan quickly changes his tune. He declares that any team can join, even if they have fewer than 5 members or low ranks. Si Chen's roommates are thrilled. They form their team and name Si Chen as the captain. The principal watches with interest, wondering how this underdog group will perform compared to Gong Ting's elite squad. As captains start picking dungeons, Si Chen doesn't hesitate. He submits his choice immediately, catching everyone off guard. The entire room erupts in shock. His roommates are in a complete panic, screaming at him to undo the selection. They can't believe he chose such a dangerous dungeon, but Si Chen just stares ahead, completely unfazed. The graduation battle examination marks the first time students form teams to enter a real dungeon. They earn credit by defeating mobs and monster wards. The scoring system is straightforward. 10 points for a full clear, 20 points for slaying the boss, and another 20 for finishing within an hour. Different dungeon ranks have different multipliers. An F-rank dungeon offers a max score of 75 points, while an E rank offers 100. The rewards are life-changing. Every member of the highest-scoring team gets an offer from the Imperial Guild. The class MVP is appointed to a management position within that guild and receives a prize of 1 million yuan. Historically, the highest score ever recorded was 90 points, set by a genius who now leads the Imperial Guild. In the lecture hall, students discuss their strategies. An E-rank dungeon is considered very tough, requiring at least 3 D-rank students to even stand a chance. Most expect Gong Ting's talented team to be the ones to challenge the all-time high record. Suddenly, a notification pings. A team has already submitted their choice. It's Si Chen's team, and they selected a D-rank dungeon. The room falls into a state of shock. No student has ever beaten a D-rank dungeon before. Si Chen's teammates are losing their minds, asking if he's gone crazy or just pressed the wrong button. Si Chen remains completely calm, simply stating that he has thought this through. Moments later, another notification sounds. Gong Ting's team has also selected a D-rank dungeon, deciding to match the challenge. The other students start whispering and laughing at Si Chen. They assume his team is just acting tough for attention because they're likely to finish in last place anyway. They predict the team will fall apart before the exam even starts. Si Chen's friend with the glasses is terrified but notices a powerful aura coming from Si Chen. He realizes Si Chen is no longer the person who used to lean on him for everything. Despite his fear, the friend hits the confirm button, promising to stick with Si Chen until the very end. The final teammate is frustrated and calls the situation psychotic, but he eventually gives in. He figures they are graduating soon anyway, so they might as well go all out. With everyone's confirmation, Si-Chen's team is officially locked into the D-rank dungeon. Si-Chen and his 3 roommates have officially formed their team, but the tension in the room is high. He apologizes to his friends for his reckless choice, admitting he picked the D-rank dungeon specifically to aim for the MVP title. The stakes are huge, because the class MVP gets a direct management position in the Imperial Guild and a 1 million yuan prize. Dan Ting is visibly rattled by the move, something Ling Yu notes has never happened before. The principal and Ling Yu discuss the extreme risk. While the D-rank dungeon offers a massive score multiplier, the difficulty is several times higher than what students usually handle. Ling Yu points out that even a C-rank awakener would find it impossible to solo. With only a month left, most teams are staying in the combat simulation rooms to practice their elemental abilities against digital monsters. Si-Chen decides to ignore the simulators entirely. Instead, he forces his roommates into a brutal physical training schedule, involving dodgeball, sprints, and shuttle runs. They complain that this isn't a triathlon, but Si-Chen explains his reasoning. Simulations are just theory. In a real dungeon, fear takes over, and instincts are what matter most. He is training their endurance and reaction speed, so they can survive when their powers aren't enough. He reminds his team that nobodies, like them, don't have the status or privilege to train in real dungeons like the elite students do. The graduation exam is their only chance to break through the social barrier and surpass those born into power. He is determined to fulfill his promise to them and get them into the Imperial Guild. Staring down the path ahead, Si-Chen tells his team they will absolutely win. The live stream of the examination is about to begin. A total of 184 students are participating, divided into 28 teams. The vast majority of them chose the safest route, with 23 teams selecting the F-rank dungeon. 3 teams decided on the E-rank dungeon, and only 2 teams were bold enough to pick the D-rank dungeon. Sigrid, the Secretary General of the Global Guild Federation, finds this concerning. She points out that D-rank dungeons are considered dangerous even for professional hunters and asks if the school properly warned the students. The Director of Career Services assures her that everything was explained beforehand. He mentions that most students are currently E-rank with little real-world experience, so sticking to an F-rank dungeon is usually the most sensible choice for them. Before the team can even process that they're still alive, Si-Chen moves. He doesn't give the monsters a chance to regroup for a second dive. In a literal flash of lightning, he intercepts the attackers mid-air. His roommates can barely keep track of what's happening. When the snow settles, they see 3 dead Wraithwind monkeys lying on the ground. Shang Zhu is completely stunned, realizing that Si-Chen just soloed 3 D-rank monsters in an instant. While the officials watching the livestream expect them to drop out any second, Si-Chen is already proving that he's on an entirely different level than his E-rank status suggests. Si-Chen tells his teammates that their current strength isn't enough to handle the monsters. He tells them to just focus on protecting themselves while he handles the rest. With a massive burst of lightning, he leaps into the fray. Ma Long and Sheng Yu realize that the training Si-Chen gave them earlier wasn't so they could help him fight, but simply so they could survive the encounter. Sheng Yu feels a bit frustrated. He used to be the boss of their dorm, but now he has to rely on Si-Chen just to make it to graduation. The monsters are flying monkey-like creatures with bat wings. Si-Chen moves through them like a blur, tearing them apart with yellow lightning strikes. To the onlookers, he doesn't look like a student at all. He fights like a battle-hardened warrior. Xiang Yu watches as Si-Chen leaves them further and further behind. Suddenly, another monster attacks from behind. Xiang Yu manages to block it with his glowing, heated fist. He tells Ma Long that they can't just be deadweights and rely entirely on Si-Chen. They realize this graduation assessment belongs to them as well. Xiang Yu uses a skill called Flora Chant, Vine Lock, sending out massive vines to trap a monster. The creature is too strong and breaks free instantly, but Ma Long follows up with Cloud Chant, Frost Breeze. The icy wind slows the monster down, allowing the 2 of them to finally coordinate an attack together. Ma Long and Shang Yu coordinate their powers, combining ice and plant magic into a combo skill that traps a ghost bat monkey in a frozen vine cage. They signal for Shang Zhou to finish it off. He charges forward, unleashing a nuclear mage burst flame bullet. The monster is incredibly tanky and survives the initial blast, forcing the other 2 to hold the line as they reach their absolute limits. Shang Zhou refuses to back down and pours everything into one final attack, the converged burst flame bullet. A massive explosion rocks the cave, and a system drone confirms the D-rank monster has been successfully killed. The trio collapses in exhaustion, celebrating their impossible victory. Si-Chen, who has already cleared the rest of the cave, walks over and offers them a casual good job. Watching the live feed, an examiner is left speechless, unable to comprehend how trash students with 0 experience can take down a monster of that level. In a separate room, high-ranking observers take notice. One man with purple hair watches Si-Chen intently, remarking on his excellent performance and noting that the boy looks exactly like an old acquaintance of his. The purple-haired man finally remembers Si-Chen's name, while the examiner excitedly points out that the other team in a D-rank dungeon is already halfway through. This team, led by a flame soldier named Gong Ting, is tearing through not just toadstools with professional-level coordination. Using combos like Withering Him and Astrofusion to group and weaken enemies, Gong Ting finishes them off with a searing fracture. One teammate admits that the Gong family likely rigged the exam since these are the exact monsters they trained for. They confidently head toward the boss, feeling like champions. Back at Cloudwood Summit's peak, Si Chen's team reaches the top only to find the Monster Lord, a massive frost wraith ape. It's busy tearing into a smaller monster, and its red eyes immediately lock onto the intruders. The boys are terrified, convinced one slap from that thing will kill them 10 times over. The giant beast lets out a roar and charges straight at them. While his teammates scream and scramble away in a panic, Si Chen remains perfectly still. He waits for the monster to get within range before exploding with yellow lightning. In a blur of speed, he leaps up and delivers a devastating kick straight to the ape's face. The impact is so powerful it sends a massive shockwave through the air, instantly crushing the creature's skull. Ma Long is the only one left conscious, shivering uncontrollably on the ground. Behind him, Si Chen and Xiang Yu have been completely encased in massive pillars of ice. He realizes that if he were in a cloud class with a natural resistance to cold, he would have been frozen solid along with them. Just as he's trying to catch his breath, a sinister laughter echoes through the area. A massive skeletal figure towers over him, radiating an aura of absolute frost. This is the true lord of the dungeon, a terrifying ice monarch with a glowing blue core and a frozen crown. It looks down at the helpless Ma Long, laughing as if it's found its next toy. Ma Long pours everything into his perfect origin skill, desperately trying to thaw Si Chen. The Lich King doesn't just stand there. It launches more ice attacks to finish him off, but Ma Long doesn't stop. He screams through the pain, refusing to let his teammates stay frozen. His persistence finally pays off. Deep inside the ice, Si Chen's eyes snap open, burning with a fierce golden light. The massive ice pillar shatters into a million pieces as Si Chen breaks free, instantly tapping into his full power. Before the Lich King can even react, Si Chen activates his Godspeed skill. He becomes a streak of lightning, moving so fast that the world seems to stand still. The Lich King can only watch in absolute shock as Si Chen closes the distance in a fraction of a second. Ma Long is in complete shock, realizing that Si Chen isn't just a lightning elemental assassin. He watches as a skeletal mask forms over Si Chen's face, realizing he's looking at a rare dual-class awakener. Si Chen apologizes to his team for misjudging the situation and putting them in danger. A class change. Notification appears as Si Chen's energy shifts from blue to a dark purple and pink. The transformation completes, revealing his new form, the Abyssal Fiend. Now sporting horns, glowing eyes, and wielding a massive jagged energy blade, Si Chen declares he's going to finish this immediately. He swings his weapon, letting out a powerful shockwave as he prepares to end the battle.